Quick interlude. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'm going to just say that right now, just in case this is showing up on the final recording or stream, and my apologies for that. Apparently, the technology also feels like bah humbug today. Welcome to the I've Created a Monster podcast. I'm your host, Rushni Cope, aka Glamazzini Online, and this is a place where I share my unfiltered thoughts, my observations, and my personal musings. Usually, I say that I am live on Instagram. However, today I am not. I set up to go live on Instagram, and I'm going to tell you why I'm not today. Okay. I'm going to tell you why I'm not. And I am, however, live with my patrons on YouTube as usual. Okay. If this were a typical recording, Instagram would get the beginning and Patreon would get the entire kit and caboodle. So, to join me live for future recordings, become a patron and support the sponsor of this podcast, patreon.com/Glamazzini. Okay. First of all, if you are looking at me on YouTube on the video, you can see me. But if you're listening to me on the podcast platform, I'm going to describe what I look like right now. Okay. Your girl has a bomb twist out that's been fluffed up for a few days because I'm Glamazzini. Okay. That's the explanation for why my hair looks amazing. And I am wearing a black Sarah McLachlan t-shirt because I went to her concert earlier this year. And for today's headband, because I always wear a headband, I am wearing a black and white Bah Humbug faux Christmas hat headband. Okay. I had to keep really moving the twist out because the twist out kept hiding the words. I forgot I even had this. Full disclosure, I was going to wear frog ears, but the way I'm feeling, which I'm explaining in a second, I was like, this Sarah McLachlan t-shirt is all I got for y'all. It's all that I have to give. Okay. And so I was like, well, let me zhuzh it up with a little Christmas headband. So I go in my Christmas headband box because I have one. And I'm looking at it right now. And every single blasted one of these things is either a warm Christmas hat. I can see like 4 of them right now. Or they have bells on them, which I can't have for the podcast because apparently I like reindeer antlers with bells and bows with bells and bells everywhere because typically, apparently, I'm a jolly holly Christmas person. And the only one I could find that didn't have bells was red and white bow with sequins and lights. And your girl just wasn't feeling it. So somewhere in the bottom of the bin, I found this Bah Humbug, black and white with the tag. I have a sneaky suspicion where I got it from, and I don't think it was supposed to be mine. But listen, we are here now, and I am showing up as my truest self because I said this is a podcast for unfiltered thoughts. Also, I did throw on some homemade Christmas bow earrings that I made from some glue and some buttons years ago. So there's hope yet for me. Okay, let's move on. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys is the Black Women Healing Fund has reopened. What is that, Rashni? Last year or the year before, I was inspired to start a fund to help Black women on a healing journey. I think I called it a Black Women Joy Fund when I first opened it. And I really didn't push it or promote it as much as I wanted to. I hadn't organized it enough, even though I was talking about it. And then I just kind of let it simmer for a second. Well, it's back. It's back like it never left. And so now it is called a Black Women Healing Fund. And there's an application for people to apply to receive money from this fund. I'll put it in the information box of this video when I'm done, and on podcast platforms. Basically, in my mind, healing is a return to wholeness, and Black women can benefit from what I call community care, right? And so that's why I created this fund, because we could all use a little help. When my son is in the hospital, it is not uncommon for people to help me in many ways that mean they give me their time and their energy. But sometimes people just like cash app me some money so that I can buy food at the hospital or gas for driving back and forth. Okay. So in 2024, I collected over $700 via my Patreon. If you would like to be a person contributing to this, once again, come join the Patreon, patreon.com/Glamazzini, and do good by a Black or West Indian woman. Okay. And I have this money holding to give for community care for Black and West Indian women 18 plus. The process is simple. All you have to do is just click the link. It is bit.ly/Glamazini Healing Fund, bit.ly/Glamazini Healing Fund. It's also in the information box and the show notes on podcast platforms. Fill out the application. Of course, read all of the fine print because I wrote some fine print for you. Share what is asked for in the application. And if you're selected, I'll send you some money for community care and you go ahead and you heal. Okay. And I want to encourage you not to be shy. We deserve ease. We deserve support. This is just me doing this out of the goodness of my heart, which is ironic because I'm sitting here with a bah humbug on my head. But y'all know my heart. Okay. My first name means light. So she's not feeling like it right now. And I'll explain some more about that. bit.ly/Glamazini Healing Fund if you would like to apply, and and patreon.com/Glamazini if you would like to support the fund. That's where the money comes from. Okay, let me talk about the other elephant in the room that you might not even be able to tell unless you're watching on YouTube. My eye is swollen. Yeah, you know how people in church say you don't look like what you've been through? I look like what I've been through. Which is also why I am wearing this hat. Okay. I just could not change into bright colors and put on a happy headband for you and do a little jaunt. I couldn't do it today. So I did it. My husband was out of town for several nights. He just got back in the middle of last night. So I just saw him for the first time this morning. And that meant that I had to take care of my son solo dolo for the past few days, which is totally doable, clearly, because I did it. But if you don't know, my son is still healing from a pretty eventful spinal fusion surgery that took a week to start and finish. And he almost passed away twice. And the wound for his actual back is healing pretty well. It's not finished, but it's on its way. But we have developed a pressure sore on his hip that is out of control. Okay. And so we had just went to the hospital for a checkup Thursday before my husband left, and the wound care team was wilding out on what they were doing. So they basically sent me home with a kid with a whole debrided, full out new wound care done dropped. And then my husband left me to go to where he was going. Okay. And so I'm tired. Not only that, I had the audacity on my other platform to have my virtual planning retreat begin. So I had to do that. I'm still working on those things. And I have a coaching membership. So I have had call after call after call. My son has been healing. I have been doing all the things on my own, and I am tired. And then to top it off, a few days ago, yesterday, not last night, I woke up feeling a little under the weather and my eye was swollen. And if you look at me right now on YouTube, my eye is still swollen. Okay. So today's recording and the reason why I'm not on Instagram is really because I want my yes to be yes and my no to be no. I show up. I keep promises that I made to myself and to y'all, and I'm about to knock it out. Okay, let's talk about our topics. Let's get off the bah humbug vibe and let's talk about our topics. The first topic I want to talk about is this woman. Her name is Crystal Mangum, who accused the Duke lacrosse players of raping her in 2006. And now, how many years later is that? 18, 19 years later, she admitted it was all a lie. She said it was all a lie. And to make it worse, it's a black woman accusing some white boys. Girl, sis. Now, here's the thing that's even more reckless. Apparently, Crystal is serving a prison term right now for stabbing her boyfriend. And she admitted that she lied about this on a podcast episode. What is happening? What I heard somebody recently say that their favorite TV show right now is America, and this season is crazy. And I cannot, this woman lied. Anyway, girl, sis, that is so wild and so wrong. And just embarrassed. Are you not embarrassed? And the thing about it is, it's hard enough out here being a woman and staying safe in the patriarchal thought processes of the humans who think that they are entitled to your physical form whenever they want it. But then to add on top of it, delusions and lies, accusing people, and that will make it even harder for women who are actually having that happen to them, who have been assaulted, to come forward and be believed. Shame on you and shame on your bloodline. Okay. The good news is the kids that she accused back in 2006, it was the charges were dropped, and it was not something that actually happened to them, unlike many Black and brown people who are accused falsely in the opposite direction, and they end up in the system. So that was the good news about that, and I just wanted to say that aloud. Let's move on. The next thing that I want to bring up is comment section. I think from now on, this is going to be the place where I get my thoughts about happenings in the comment section off my chest. The first is apparently the third episode of this podcast, I Created a Monster, went micro viral on YouTube. And I say micro viral because I literally just started this platform like a month ago. I'm on episode 5. So the expectation is not for things to be blowing all the way up, although I am speaking and being more vocal about popular topics. So in the past, when I did that in a funny way, those videos blew up because that's what people like, right? People like that kind of stuff. So anyway, the third episode already has over 900 plus views. The algorithm must have caught it, threw it out there, and there were several comments from people who are not my usual demographic and who are not. So they're new to the platform. Okay. Most people are new to me, new to the platform, but new to me. It's a new platform, but new to me. Right. So most people who were new and decided to comment said stuff like, oh, that's interesting. Never thought about it. Here's a different way to think about it, if they were slightly disagreeing or whatever. Or, oh my God, thanks for sharing that. Never thought about it. Thanks for sharing it. Never heard it. Right? That was it. There was one lady, though, who wanted to express to me her thoughts about my thoughts about white women wearing blue bracelets to signify that they did not vote for negative 45. And I actually copied her comment because I thought it was an interesting um, example of kind of proving my point. And she wrote, who cares whether white women are wearing blue bracelets? Let me go back. If you don't remember the whole white women wearing blue bracelets thing, you got to go back to episode 3 to see exactly what I was talking about. But basically, there was this movement started, just like the safety pins the last time, where people have these performative way. I call it performative, okay? Because it's my podcast. I can say what I want to. It's my podcast. I can say what I want to. I'm feeling mad, but I'm never feeling mad enough not to sing. Okay. Um, they want to, people want to indicate that they are part of the people that didn't do a thing. That's what I'll say. Okay. Last time it was safety pins. It's been all kinds of things. This time it's blue bracelets. Okay. So they want to wear blue bracelets to indicate that they did not vote for negative 45. Yeah. Yeah. All right. She wrote, who cares whether white women are wearing blue bracelets? Latina teachers at my school also wear them. This isn't a white phenomenon. It isn't just performative. And we don't care if you want it or not, because it isn't just to make Black people feel safe. There's more to her comment, but I'm going to stop right there. If you go back to the episode, you will hear me say that I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And I said it's complicated because I saw somebody with a blue icon digitally, and it actually did make me exhale. And so I was actually saying a complex thought like, I don't hate it, but also, wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a world where you didn't have to wear a blue bracelet? Like, if I have to question my safety coming around you, there's more work to be done on your part to be a safe person and not just wear a safe person's garb. That's what I was basically trying to say in that video, right? A little longer. But this last sentence is wild to me. On my video, a Black woman who has a platform where she specifically says she is saying her thoughts, my thoughts, my thoughts. This woman, who I'm going to assume is not Black because she didn't say it as though she was in group, her writing, I don't know, but it seems that way, wrote, quote, it isn't just performative. We don't care if you want it or not, because it isn't just to make Black people feel safe. And that's what I mean. You are talking to me unsafe on my own platform. So you, an unsafe sounding person who does not care what I think and does not care whether what I think is true to me or not, and doesn't want to hear it, is trying to tell me to be quiet on my platform. And yet you might be wearing a blue bracelet and other people who think the same way, like you might be wearing a blue bracelet. You're capable of telling me that on my platform. You're capable of telling me to be quiet. You're capable of telling me not to think my thoughts, not to feel my feels. And that's unsafe. And so, in closing, I would prefer that you were a better person. And when you came into other people's spaces, that you took the stance of curiosity and listening, even if you don't agree, because you could be wearing a blue bracelet and you could still be you typing foolishness like that in my comment section. And that's all I have to say about that. The other person that I was going to talk about in the comments, I don't even feel like it right now. Become a patron. But basically, I was having a little back and forth with a white woman about bonnets. And usually I don't go back and forth with people like that. But I think maybe this bump on my eye and the fact that I'm tired I had time yesterday and last night and I'm tired. I do, however, wish that I could turn off notifications on comments because sometimes you write like a fire comment on somebody's platform and everybody's like commenting on it for months and months and months and months and months and they're laughing and they're tagging you and that's fine, but I want to just get rid of it after like the first week. And same thing, like when I have people spinning out of control and crashing out in comment sections, I would love it if like certain platforms would let me like turn the notification off on the comment because I don't want to delete the comment. I want to stand 10 toes down on what I said. I said what I said, but I just don't want to hear about you anymore. Okay, next. Tabitha Brown had hip surgery. And all I want to say about that is I hope whatever she had, it is rectifying the pain that she has said that she has felt in her body for many years, and she's been gracious enough to share with us. And I hope that she is healing well. I'm part of her Patreon, so I get to kind of see behind the scenes. And her daddy or Diddy, it sounds like she always say my daddy is my daddy is there in town helping to take care of her. And so she looks like she and making sure that she sat down somewhere because Tabitha seemed like she don't like to sit down. And so her daddy is making sure that she sat down somewhere. And I am praying along with everybody else for a speedy and thorough recovery and no pain and a rectification of whatever the surgery was supposed to solve. Okay, next. Apparently, Jaleel White, who is the actor that played Steve Urkel on the very, very popular sitcom Family Matters, had an interview where he said some things. I actually watched the interview, and when he said what he said, that sent the blacks a little like, right? The blacks heard the interview and their heads all went, right? I actually heard it before knowing that the blacks had went, and my head went, and then I said, whatever, and went about my business. And what he had said was that he, when he finished with Family Matters, which was a wildly successful show when I was growing up. So the 90s, I assume, right? That's when I was growing up. Girl, who knows? Time is a social construct. Let me hydrate so I could get my brain back on. Jaleel went and had this interview, and on the interview, he said that Black people only like hood shows like Living Single and Martin. And that's why Family Matters was not bigger in the community. And he also, I watched the interview, he also kind of alluded to that's why he wasn't able to get work in such a large format after Family Matters, even though the show he was on had done such big numbers overseas, etc. And Jaleel, let me tell you what. Let me tell you my actual thoughts. That interview was kind of difficult for me to watch because the interviewer was so giddy and so excited, and you could see that Urkel and Jaleel and Stefan Urkel and all of this stuff was a huge part of her upbringing. So she was like a giddy schoolgirl, and it was a huge part of my upbringing as well. But she was so starstruck that she on one side of the screen and he seemed like he was tiptoeing through his trauma and pain from what he experienced playing a character that eventually turned out to be a painful experience for him. Like it was, or a complex, let me say that, a complex experience for him. Like you could feel that he had spent a lot of time, maybe in therapy, talking through, hopefully in therapy, maybe not enough therapy because he talked about Black people like hood shows, but whatever. talking through how this character and this experience in his life was not the 100% blessing that everybody thinks it would be for him, and how he has had to, like, spin it in his mind. And so there were times where she would ask him questions, and you could see that he was like, "Yeah, but, it is a blessing," like, he had to, like, really process that out, because if you could imagine playing a character like Steve Urkel starting from when you were really a kid all the way till 21, which is wild that he played that character until 21. At first, it's a good time to be had by all, but eventually, as you try to individuate and become a man, and everybody sees you as this goofy childlike person on TV, and they can't see you as anything else, that has to be crushing to your development. And you could see that he was kind of, I shouldn't say that. I don't know that to be true. Okay, this is all guesses and speculation. But you could feel pain in him talking. And I also wonder whenever I hear people like him, or like the guy that played Carlton on Fresh Prince, say these like side of the mouth things toward Black people, like they only like hood shows and that they're speaking from pain. Like, their pain became their personality. There's some rejection of the Black community that they experience that you hear, like, oozing out of what they're saying. That would only be my guess. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Jamie Foxx. Okay, let's move on. So last year or the year before, Jamie Foxx had a medical event, and we were all aware that he had the medical event, and he kind of disappeared. Then there was that little blip on the radar where people thought him coming and sending a message to us was AI or a clone, which is wild. Comment sections remain wild and will remain wild from now on, because now they actually are releasing AI that can do videos. Like, I saw I forgot what it's called, but I'll put a link to it in the information box of the video, and the show notes. So anyway, Jamie Foxx had a medical situation, and then recently, he just had his Netflix special called What Had Happened Was, where he and I think his daughter were on stage at some point, and he shared with us that he suffered a brain bleed that led to a stroke last year. And then he had to have surgery in an Atlanta hospital. Okay. And then he had rehabilitation in a facility. Wow. And so Jamie Foxx is a walking miracle. And in 2024, I am always amazed when someone with such a large platform and range and impact actually gets the opportunity to have a medical episode and heal without a bunch of involvement and intrusion from the public. If you remember Chadwick, when he was sick, whoever he had around him was a tight team, because we found out at the very end. And I hate that he had that medical situation, and I wish he was still here with us, but I'm so grateful that he had the type of people around him that would handle it that way and keep his stuff close. And Jamie Foxx also seemed to have that kind of team. So I didn't watch the special, but I've heard rave reviews on the special, and I've seen clips of it online. Specifically, I keep seeing a clip of him and his daughter, and him explaining how his vitals were unstable and they could not get his vitals to stabilize. And so his daughter, who apparently has walked around with a guitar in her hand for her whole life and been playing this guitar, would sit and play for him. And whenever she sat and played her guitar, his vitals would stabilize. And so he had her play what she was playing on stage. And it was such a moving and poignant thing, because if you're a person that has sat in medical facilities with family members, it really brings home what is most important to you. Everyone else is going about their life outside. The world has not stopped for anyone, it feels like, except you. And in those spaces, you really get to see what is priority, and who you value, who values you, and who will take time. Right? And who will take time. And so I know that that experience with him and his daughter was such an intimate and beautiful thing. And what we saw on the stage would never, ever, ever compare to what actually happened in the room when his vitals were regulating. I can only imagine. It kind of brings tears in my eyes when I think about sitting by my son's bedside during his medical um, episodes that he has had over the past couple years. And so, quick interlude, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. So I'm going to just say that right now, just in case this is showing up on the final recording or stream, and my apologies for that. Apparently, the technology also feels like bah humbug today. Okay. Moving on with Jamie, though, I then saw on Yahoo that Jamie, the same Jamie Foxx who just came out of active hell with his health, was injured on Friday at a restaurant while he was celebrating his birthday. Could you imagine? I'm not really sure what the entire gist is. I didn't like the fact that the headline made it seem like Jamie was in a fight or he was instigating a fight. But then when you read the article, it seemed like somebody threw something from another table and it hit him and he got injured in his mouth. And so he had to get stitches. Y'all, please cease and desist and leave Jamie Foxx alone, okay? The man just got better and now he got his face busted up. Come on. Come on. Anyway, moving on. So there have been sightings of drones apparently over New Jersey last week. And I saw the video and it was giving very much UFO, the typical like unidentified flying things in the sky with lights, except they looked kind of huge. And it was multiple lit or like reflective items in New Jersey by multiple people uh, reporting them. And then I think like a couple days ago, I saw that one of the drones crashed and all these news stations were out there trying to report on it. And I watched the reports and they had no information. And this is my thoughts, you guys. This is what I actually think. And maybe this is how people on the right think now, because who knows, truth and what people are reporting is so hard to know what's real anymore, that maybe I'm getting sucked into the conspiracy theories. If a gajillion people say that they see school bus sized drones, I'm exaggerating, flying over New Jersey in mass, okay? And the government don't blink, don't say nary a word about it. The government is like, we don't see nothing. My thoughts are them, the government's drones. The reason why the government don't see them, okay, is because the government put them up there. They could see them from the inside. They don't have to see them from the outside like the rest of us because they put them up there, okay? You looking at the drone and they in the drone looking at you. So when you say, do you see that? The government say nothing because they are it. They don't have to see it. And that's my thoughts on the drones, okay? Yeah, I just recorded a entire segment about a topic and then got tired talking about it and decided to scratch the whole topic. Okay. I was talking about TikTok, Jackie, Aina, and the Super 5 discourse. And I don't want. You know what I will say though, and keep in the episode? I've been following Jackie since she was making videos on her floor in Hawaii. And she paved the way for Black women on the internet. I was rooting for her back then because she was rooting for us. And I watched her in real time create a space and go against brands when everyone was seemingly against her, and make it possible for Black women content creators to come behind her with ease because she had taken the brunt of a lot of what happened. So my first thoughts when I saw this whole back and forth between her and this concept of the Super 5 on TikTok, and you'll have to go into that on your own because I'm not going to. It made my brain tired, so I didn't even feel like going into it. It made me sad because I guess in watching somebody do the work so that other people could come behind them, it has to suck to have other people come behind you on a path that you made for them and talk bad about you in what feels to me, and remember I'm 48, in what feels like an immature way that doesn't honor that you did this for them. And that has to suck. Also, Jackie was doing a lot of this stuff on her own. She was out here, y'all, doing this stuff by herself. There was no Super 5 for her, okay? Other non-Black creators had their groups, and she was her by herself. And other people came after her. And the fact that people don't understand that or know that, and they are walking on a path she created for them, dragging her while they walk it, is wild to me. So I don't have much else to say. I have nothing negative to say about the women in that Super 5 group. I only know one of theirs content well enough to even comment on it. The second person I found out about because of the podcast stuff that they were doing, and I just some lessons are learned with time. Some lessons are learned out loud, and um, some creators learn lessons from the experiences that they have. Hopefully, the discourse back and forth between the people who are explaining colorism, privilege, and being unaware of certain things to everyone, they will understand. Interlude being inserted now. Hey, you guys, it's Rashni from a couple days in the future. Technology is still turning me every which way but loose over here. So you are on my phone with my little TikTok mic. I wanted to interject something from a clearer brain. If you can see the video now, my eye is still swollen. I've called the doctor. That's not what I want to talk about. I wanted to add something to the Jackie Super 5 content creator conversation, a pattern that I noticed. I've seen that this conversation has been received on both ends of the spectrum, meaning I've seen a lot of people understand where Jackie was coming from and interjecting herself into a conversation that wasn't directly about her right now, but that involved a group of people that have used her as fodder for their content in the past and that have caused her pain. Yeah. And then I see people who are understanding more where the Super 5 content creators are coming from, and they have shared their perspectives. And the pattern that I've noticed is, at least I'm suspecting this to be a pattern. I started following Jackie, and she was just a person sitting on her floor doing her makeup, right? And so, even though I've watched her transcend into a level of content creation and brand deals and luxury and her company and all of that, that I have not hit, in my mind, she's still just my friend chopping it up with me doing her makeup. It's just gotten better lighting, better, I don't know, skill. Her skills were always bomb. Better everything, better ingredients, better pizza. But it's like watching your parasocial friend win. And because in my mind, she's my parasocial friend and my parasocial peer, and I know y'all are like, Rashni, you are not Jackie's peer. I'm saying in my brain, we started from the bottom. Now she's there. I'm not up there, but I'm still cheering her on. Because of that, when she speaks, I'm hearing her from that lens. I think if you were introduced to Jackie later, when she already had transcended, started the transcending, or already was up there, it makes it a lot easier for you to not see her as a human being, to see her as a brand and as a thing, like an entity, and to talk all kind of ways about her with low to no empathy being displayed and not fully grasp when she responds that you're talking to a human being. I'm not saying that's the people's intention. I'm saying that's their impact. The reason I think that is because when I watched parts of their podcast and the one young lady was turning the camera to say, "Look, I didn't say anything. Look, I didn't say anything." I was like, "Girl, you can't hear yourself? You are talking about a stranger that you don't know." And the tone sounds low to no empathy. And I think maybe the feeling that I didn't say anything is because I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe it's harder to see Jackie as a person through that lens. Now, the dynamic is tricky, right? Because there's privilege of content size, where Jackie kind of leans on the privilege side, but then there's privilege of colorism, where the other women lean on the privilege side, but then there's privilege of, you know, time in the game. Jackie's on the top of that, but then there's all of it. There's age, there's all of it. And so it's a complex conversation, but I did notice that pattern. Depending on when you were introduced to Jackie, there might be more opportunity for you to not see her as a person and therefore not receive what she's saying like a person saying it. And I think that's what she was saying. Okay, I gotta go because back to your regularly scheduled program. And that's all I have to say. That was nebulous, but I was saying it with more granularity before, and I just didn't want it. I'm too old. Anyway, let's move on. Talking about TikTok, they are saying that the TikTok ban will be upheld on January 19th, and that will mean that there will be no more tickety talks. January 19th, I don't know what the deal is. You'll go on to the app, and it'll just be like, sorry, sorry to this man. You cannot. In the past, when TikTok was threatened to be banned, there were always commentary people who have much more knowledge about the law and the legal ramifications that would come in and explain to us ways that it was not going to happen. I am not seeing that right now. What I'm seeing is a lot of those very same people coming in and saying, "Ooh, it's not looking good," or "Here are things that can happen, but it's unlikely that that will happen." Because I'm wearing a Bah Humbug hat, today's podcast is going to be light, but I am going to say that it would be unfortunate to me if TikTok was banned because TikTok has become one of my favorite platforms. I am a YouTube girl through and through. Love YouTube down, still love YouTube, and probably will always love YouTube first. But TikTok is probably my second favorite platform. And at first, it took a little figuring out, and I abandoned it in the pandemic, but then I came back and fell in love. And really, the algorithm is unmatched. And I believe that that is part of why the algorithm is so powerful and has brought so many people together. But I also think that that is part of what scares the people that don't understand TikTok, right? All the non-user older people who are making the laws and decisions don't understand what the point of TikTok. I also my heart goes out to for all the people who are now making the majority of their money off of their huge platforms on TikTok, whether making content or selling product. And I cannot imagine building this up and having this be something that you think is going to perpetuate going forward in your days and then just having it stop. And there is no way right now to replicate TikTok quickly somewhere else. Instagram Reels is not the same. YouTube Shorts is absolutely not the same. Okay. Facebook Reels, not the same. Snapchat, not the same. TikTok is very unique and it will kind of suck if the ban goes through. I guess we will see what is popping off by January 19th. And then the last thing, which I probably should have talked about first, because when I tell you I have zero steam right now, this bah humbug, I think all the energy in my body is in this swollen eyeball. Let me take a sip. Recording this podcast every 2 weeks feels like 18 years ago. Okay. Would you believe that since the last podcast, the United Healthcare CEO killing occurred where a masked gunman walked up to him on the sidewalk with a pew pew and pew pewed him in broad daylight at the crack of dawn after getting some coffee, okay? And then disappeared into the ether for 4 or 5 days and became this nebulous, like, folk hero, especially on TikTok. And then they released a photograph of the bottom half of his face, and people could tell that he was conventionally attractive. And then I started seeing people breathing and fawning all over him on TikTok, men and women alike, okay? And then there was this whole thing of people being happy about what happened, which was wild because when it first happened, I posted about the shooting and I came back and told a friend on Facebook the day it happened, there are people on TikTok that are happy. And she was like, happy? Happy about what? And I said to her, I was like, well, I don't think they're happy that a person was killed. I think that they're exhausted about how the healthcare system treats people. And being a mom of a son with special needs who has dealt with the insurance companies, I don't condone it, but I'm not going to say I don't understand. And my friend was like, "What?" And when I tell you that was the understatement of the millennia, okay? Because I thought it was just one or two people who were out there clapping. And that's all social media turned into. Every single time I went into an article on mainstream media, on TikTok, every single time I opened my timeline, all I would see is people either saying that they were neutral about the fact that this man was pew pewed in broad daylight, or they were gleeful, or they were like, well, hey, sometimes things happen. Okay. I saw every version of thoughts and prayers are out of network and thoughts and prior authorizations in comment sections. I saw people outright being happy about it, people making videos about Glee. And I also saw mainstream media being absolutely confused about why this was occurring, which is wild to me. Talk about being out of touch. Talk about being out of touch. Okay? They ain't never, they can't fathom. Imagine being that secure in your healthcare that you can't comprehend what's even going on down here on the ground. Anyway, the next thing that happened is then they figured out or released that the actual bullet casings at the scene had the words deny, defend, and depose on it, which were then traced back to a book about the American healthcare system, I believe. And then social media took that up. I started seeing deny, defend, depose on t-shirts. People were making music out of it. Some of the music was fire. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, listen, the collective is collectiving, okay? And I don't have much else to say except I am so happy that I think my thoughts before the masses get them, because then I don't get swept up in the masses and I get to know exactly what I think, which is I am not a proponent of pew-pewing people in broad daylight to get a point across. And I understand how why people wait. As a mom who is follicle deep in the medical system and who instead of spending time caring for herself and her son spends an exorbitant amount of time maneuvering through a medical system and insurance phone calls and paperwork, et cetera, that clearly and obviously affects the care and the healing that's supposed to be happening. How could you not get it? I saw so many stories on TikTok that were so heartbreaking about family members who died. You have found out so many statistics about how United Healthcare, which apparently is the number one insurance company that denies claims. Average insurance denial rate is like 15 to 16%. United's was like 30 something percent, meaning 1 in 3 of their clients got a claim denied. They would deny or they would delay. And by delaying, they knew that they would, 80% of the people would get tired of trying and just give up, which I have done for my son. I have gotten tired of trying with insurance and just given up. And then they only have to pay 20% of the claims. And that was actually part of how they were making the money that they were making. And I've seen this conversation happening now in a way that I've never seen it before. And so the person that they arrested as a person of interest, Luigi Mangione, um, I probably butchered his last name, but you know who he is, has started a discourse that in my mind should have been happening. And I'm not a proponent of how he started it, but now that it started, I'm not mad at it. Because which is worse, walking up to somebody and violently taking their life on the sidewalk, which is clearly horrific and horrible to do, or taking hundreds and thousands of people's lives through an approved system of denying claims and stressing family members and people out while they should be healing. There's like legal killing people and illegal killing people. And that is where this conversation, we as a country need to sit down and say, this is not working. And I mean, the outcome is the conversation is happening. My heart goes out to the CEO's family because he has a family, to my knowledge, and that has to be a heartbreaking thing to be experiencing in real time. Um, and my heart goes out to all of us having to navigate these complex things in real time and feeling pushed to the edge. For the first time ever, I was grateful that I was not hearing a bunch of blah, blah, blah about right conservative this and left progressive that. I wasn't hearing it for like days. I was just hearing people say, we agree on this. This is broken. Make it stop. And something about that actually felt good to me. And I was questioning myself because I was like, Is this how the right usually feels? Am I drinking the Kool-Aid? Am I high on the sauce? Is this how the right feels, where they feel like, and I don't know how to say this without, I'm trying to say this, but I'm not going to have the words because my brain is mushy. So please forgive the lack of nuance in what I'm about to say. You hear them explaining that some crimes in their minds have been are pardonable for the greater conversation or good, something like that, right? And in my mind, the things that they're willing to pardon are unpardonable, right? Racism, misogyny, rapists, that kind of thing. I think that this person who did the killing of the CEO found something that more people universally feel that way about, because everyone in America is subject to the broken healthcare system. And my brain was like, not that I say it should be done, but it was the first time I was like, oh, maybe this is what they are feeling. I don't get it for that other stuff at all, because that stuff is not pardonable to me. This is not pardonable either, but maybe this gives me like insight into where they're coming from. And that's as far as I got with that thought, because it's a complex thought to be had. And like I said, I don't even know if I have the full thought fleshed out in my brain. And this is clearly not the time and day that I should be having a complex conversation with my eyes swollen and my brain mushy. Anyway, you guys, those are the topics that I have today. I think I did it. We made it. Me and my Bah Humbug hat made it. Okay. To watch tapings of the I Created a Monster podcast live, support the sponsor of this podcast, patreon.com/Glamazini. Become a patron and also be able to contribute to a fund for Black women healing. This is the last episode before Christmas. And so if you are celebrating, I wish you a Merry Christmas, even though I'm wearing my Bah Humbug hat. You and yours, you and your family members, stay safe, stay warm, create something amazing. I hope that you have your tree up. I do not. I guess I should do that because I'm a parent and my son probably wants a Christmas tree. And I will see you in a couple weeks for another episode of the I've Created a Monster podcast. And don't forget to show up, to speak up, F something up, and create your own monster. Bye, y'all.